All right, how's everybody doing tonight? Well, believe it or not, week 8. Next week is spring break, and I made this fun picture here that made me smile this morning. There we go. Spring break next week. Let's do this. Oh, yeah. I love that picture. I've used it how many times for different things. That reminds my grandson when he was about that age. Anyway, so you survived up to week 8. Tonight we're going to begin version 2.1. We'll begin integrating an input box and a button to your shopping list. Up to this point, we've played with a variable declaration, array declaration, adding to an array, updating an array, deleting an array, changing an array. And this week, we're going to start adding some GUI interface to the front end. And so get started. I believe the reading this week was on the DOM, which fits well with what we're doing this week, because we're going to be manipulating the DOM, which you'll learn what that's about. Next week, we'll be getting into manipulating methods in version, actually going to be like version 2.2 next week. And we're going to be using methods on the front end, or on the back end, actually. So couple announcements I'll go ahead and put up. We do have a couple job postings if you didn't see them already. What was it here? Web intern for the Disabled American Veterans, DAV. Encompasses a large part of Northern Illinois. Commander Ray Hughes needs help building one web page. So it should be pretty simple. And it's going to be added to a nationwide web page, evidently. I don't believe he's gotten any. I just posted this last week. I announced it to a few classes and weren't web classes. And so if you guys are interested, it shouldn't take much of your time, but it'd probably be much appreciated to the veterans folks. And again, just one basic HTML page with data on it, I believe, is all that you're going to have to do. And it is unpaid. The email for Ray, Commander Ray Hughes, is up there, and put in the subject line DAV web page. Questions on that? And again, I'm guessing from what I've heard, an hour or two of work, maybe at the most, of putting a simple web page together. You probably have to look at the
corporate page, see how what the color schemes, if you even have one. It might just be a simple white background and some text, as far as I know. So nothing real complex. He just has no clue how to do that. And so he just needs somebody to create it, give him the file, and then he can upload it, basically, is all it's encompassed. So if you are interested in that and you do shoot him an email, let me know. Just give me an email, tell me that you've done that. That'd be great. So that's that one. That's needed pretty quick on that. And what it is it's to connect disabled veterans with jobs. That's what that site's for. Let's see. This Wednesday is an hour of code downtown Rockford at the RBC location of the second floor of the R Star. If you've not been to one, I recommend you to do that. I did meet with Barnes & Noble last Friday for the mini maker fair, which I have a number of CIS students volunteering. I believe some of you guys are volunteering for that. And so we got a game plan for what we're going to be doing. They're going to start promoting it this week, probably. When I mean they, Barnes & Noble and Rock Valley College. And I'll be over on March 30th, the coding and robotics section. And so they'll be doing some hour of code stuff. I'll bring my robots. And if you've never been before, it's a lot of fun. It's, mini maker fair. It's a lot of cool gadgets and stuff that kids and even adults can play with. And they sometimes have the manufacturers of those devices there as well. And so anyway, from 6 to 9, that one's coming up. And let's see here, March 25th, the next Learn Coding with Robots. Students do get a $10 discount. We've already got the robots already in already. It's almost full. So it's $65 for the robot and the 3-ring binder and all the content. This is our 4th one we've offered since December. And so recommend it definitely. And so 47% of all jobs will be automated by 2034, meaning, and you guys already know this probably, but skilled programmers are definitely going to be in higher demand than they are even now because of that. And so this is a way actually to reach young and old both with coding. You guys are already interested, so it's right down your alley. And so I do already have some volunteers for that one, but if you are interested, be a good event for you to go to. Well worth your time and money for sure. If you have any questions about it, you can email me about anything about that. That'd be fine. And then next week or tomorrow, actually, let's see here. Lisa Malig, the RBC Vice President of Institutional Research and Effectiveness, will be my guest for the TechScope Tuesday. That's just for 15 minutes from 3:30 to 3:45. You can follow the link here, the periscope.tv link, and it'll go right to my page, my Periscope page. And you can see the latest one I put out was the RBC Hack Night, the Unreal Engine, 17 minutes and 52 seconds. Chris presented a first-person shooter game he created, and so we had quite a few folks there, and then some folks online watching as well. So that's if you don't have a Periscope account, you can watch it from here. No big deal. Just click on the link and you can watch it 15 minutes, either live or post session, either one. All right. So let's get into week 8. Got some in-class stuff to do as always, and then homework, which is version 2.1. So if we go to week 8, discussion and exercise, the first link, we won't click on, but that's a link to what you were to have read for this week, which is a document object. The second link we'll go over, which is Web233 slideshow. Number 3, resources, W3 Schools resources on DOM. And then number 4, 20 points. We're going to play around with some code already there for us in W3 Schools. I'm going to have you add some tags, walk around, play around, manipulate the DOM, and then test it. And, you'll type in complete when you're done. So click on the slideshow. And you can watch on the overhead or follow along with me on your screen. Okay, so document object, what is it? Glad you asked. When you open up a web page in your browser, the browser retrieves certain HTML tags and parses it. The browser builds up a model of what's going on there as a document structure, and then uses that model to draw the page on your screen. This representation of the document is one of the toys that a JavaScript program has available in its sandbox. You can read from a model, change it. It acts as live data structure. When it's modified, the page on the screen is updated to reflect the changes. So an example here of a basic HTML page. You've got the the HTML tags, the body tags, everything within the body tags, like H1P, Ahref, all familiar with all of these. So what the DOM structure does is take all of these tags and uses it as a nest of boxes, basically. So it puts them in boxes like this in the browser, and starting with the HTML at the top, then the head, then the title, then the body, and everything encompassed in the body, which in this case would be H1, a P tag, and a P tag with an Ahref link, right? So that's the structure. And these are default structures that we have within any HTML page. Tonight and this week, you'll play with creating your own tags. These are basic tags that everybody's familiar with already in HTML. And what JavaScript allows us to do is take those tags and manipulate them to read them and also to write to those tags within JS, okay? And so that's what we're going to be playing with tonight. And then on your version 2.1, you'll be manipulating the DOM with some data, and i.e. the shopping list that you create. So the data structure the browser uses to represent the DOM follows this shape. For each box, there's an object we can interact with to find out things such as the HTML tag it represents and which box and text it contains. And DOM stands for Document Object Model. Document Object Model is what it stands for. And it's really powerful when it comes to JavaScript because almost everything that's used in JavaScript uses the DOM. We've already used it this semester when we've done the document.write commands, and we're utilizing the DOM to do that. And so the console log does not use the DOM. The alerts do not use the DOM whatsoever. But this document dot does, like document.write that we've used, it does use a DOM. One of the things we'll be learning this week, though, is how to utilize tags within the DOM to where you can develop your own tags, create them in HTML, and then dump text or whatever else you want to that section of code. So it can be more dynamic and more richer experience for the users by using the DOM. So a global variable within the DOM, a global variable document, gives us access to these objects, and the global variable document is the DOM. The document element property refers to the object representing the HTML tag. It also provides the properties inside of the head and inside the body. and you're familiar with those tags already, like title, H1, P, and ahref. Pretty basic tags everybody's familiar with. But these hold the objects for those elements inside the little boxes. You can break it down further from a box format to like a tree format. So a data structure, call a data structure a tree when it has a branching structure, has no cycles, like a node may not contain itself directly or indirectly. An example would be H1 can't have another H1. That'd be an example. P can have another P. So P can have some text and some other text. So as you see on the tree, starting on the left would be the root of the tree, which would be HTML, just like a real tree. And then from that, the head, the title, body, everything within the body, which in this case is H1P, 2 Ps, and within one of the Ps, you can have a branch of an ahref. That's fine. You can have that. And again, you know all this already. It's just structuring it in boxes to where you go, oh, okay, that's how I can access that now. And that's what the DOM allows us to do. So in the case of the DOM, on that first end of that first paragraph where it says document dot document element serves as a root. So the root would be, in this case, HTML. And the tree comes up a lot in computer science in addition to representing what's called recursive structures, such as HTML documents and programs, often used to maintain sorted data because elements can be usually found or inserted more efficiently in a sorted tree than in an unsorted tree. So a typical tree has different kinds of nodes. The syntax tree for the egg language variable has what's called egg language variable values, application nodes. Application nodes can have children, whereas variables and values are leaves, and nodes without children. And so, as you can see on like the P tag, how it can have other sub leaves within that, which would be ahref, dot operator, things like that. So the same goes for the DOM. Nodes for regular elements would represent HTML tags, determine the structure of the document. These can have child nodes. An example of such a node is document.body. Some of these children can be leaf nodes, such as pieces of text or comments. And like the comments where you do the exclamation point, lesser than symbol, exclamation point, dash, dash, whole bunch of text, dash, dash, greater than symbol. We have multi-line comments. That would be considered pieces of comments within the DOM for HTML body. So each DOM node has a node type property, which contains a numeric code that identifies a type of node. Regular elements have the value of 1, which also is defined as constant property. So document dot, whatever the element node is. Text nodes represent a section of text in the document, has a value of 3. So it would technically be document.text node. Comments have the value of 8, document.comment node. So one of the things that's powerful about DOM is finding elements, being able to find an element within an entire page of text. As you can imagine, you've worked on web pages that are quite lengthy in code. Nice to be able to find a single node, manipulate it, or find the attribute and suck data from it. And so by giving what's called a single node an ID attribute, you can use that document.getElement by a certain ID instead. So instead of just saying all P tags or all IMG tags or all H1 tags, I can say I want a certain tag called, I don't know, F name or something. And I know I'm going to get all the fields or the field called F name and grab the data. So an example here is in P tag, my ostrich, Gertrude. Another P tag has an image tag with an image of an ostrich as a source. But notice it also has an ID in there called Gertrude. That's where the DOM can take advantage of it. You can literally isolate a tag by using an ID, any tag, doesn't matter what tag it is. It could be a P tag, it could be an IMG tag like this one here, and you can literally either suck data out of that section or push data into that section, either one. So script to get the tag by element, be var ostrich equals document.get element ID Gertrude. That would actually bring in the image Gertrude. And notice the console log is going to push out the source path. Because on ostrich.src, SRC is a method of IMG, right? So let's talk about, like we're going to be using this week, input box has a method in input box called value, meaning when you type some text in a value text input box and hit submit to bring it to another form, to save it or to display it or whatever you want to do with it, it uses the value method of that input box. So in this case, SRC is a method of IMG. Make sense? Like another one would be like the ahref tag. href would be a method of a tag, the a link tag. So finding some certain elements that's again pretty powerful to do in the DOM. Changing elements. Almost everything about the DOM data structure can be changed. Element nodes, we already learned, have a number of methods that can be used to change your content. You can use what's called the remove child method to remove certain nodes from a document. Now, you might have used this in the past, maybe like in CSS, you could do this where you can remove a CSS tag dynamically from a web page if you don't want it to show up, or hide a CSS tag. Even though it's in the CSS file, the page you want to hide it. Same thing with DOMs, you can remove certain things like say an image tag or a P tag. As long as it's tagged, you can remove it. If it's not tagged, you'll remove all. So you have to be kind of careful of that. But remove child can remove a given child node of a document, like say a P tag that's tagged or a IMG tag like we looked at earlier that's tagged. To add a child, we could use what's called append child, which puts it at the end of the list of the children. We can do insert before, which could insert maybe a P tag before an existing P tag that doesn't already exist. That does already exist. So an example here is 3 P tags, 1, 2, and 3. In the script, we're going to call in document.body get elements by tag P. Well, there's not really any separation here. It's all P tags. So notice here it says it's going to insert document.body insert before paragraphs 2, paragraph 0. And so what it's looking for then is between 0 and 2, it's going to insert something before. And it's going to insert actually a P tag in before that. So 1 would be 0, 2 right now would be 1, 3 would be 2. So it's going to insert it in between 2 and 0, which is going to put it right in the 1 slot. Okay, that's where it's going to put it at. And so it's going to insert before 2. So it actually would be 1, 2, insert 3 is where it would put it at on that one. So creating nodes, we want to write a script that replaces all image tags in the document with a text with specific type of maybe width or something. We would use a document.create text node to add more features or more hooks to an existing tag. So an example here, we have an image tag at the top of this text. IMG SRC equals IMG cat with an alt tag cat in the, and then another hat tag, button click that calls a JS function called replace images. Let's look at the code there for replace images. It's going to look for all the tags that are IMG. It's going to loop through them, by the way, because if you don't loop through them, it's just going to grab the first one. And so by looping through, here's going to create an array because there's more than one img tag. There's one, two of them up there. So it's going to loop through. Var I equals images.length -1. So in this case, we have 0 and 1. So it's going to be up to 2 images. While I is greater than or equal to 0, it's going to keep decrementing. So it's going to go from 1 to 0, done. So 1, 0, done. This first line will take in the first image, which would be the cat. If image.alt, notice it says if it's using an alt tag, which both of them are, cat and hat, it takes here and plugs in that document.createText node image.alt, and it takes it and replaces it with whatever text it is with the image. So it's going to replace, can replace with this images and the tags both for that, the alt tags and the image tags both for this. So we replace images. It can replace tags. In this case, it's doing creating text node image.alt, and it's also creating replacing it with that tag. So let's do this. If we go back to week 8, I do have a link and resources I want to look at, which is the W3 schools before we go into the in-class, which isn't going to be hard at all. But you are going to manipulate DOM. You just aren't going to use Replit this week. I thought we'd just use the W3 schools. It's got a pretty good exercise here. I'm going to have you manipulate a little bit. So we'll just refresh. I like how W3 schools put together the DOM nodes, what it's about. I like the text, but this one's a little bit more clear maybe to some of you. It says in the HTML DOM, the document object layer, everything is a node. The document itself is a node. All HTML tags are a node and their elements. HTML attributes are also attribute nodes. Text inside the HTML elements are also text nodes. Comments are comment nodes. So everything's a node, and you can manipulate it. And that's what's great about manipulating the DOM. The element object, the HTML DOM, the element object represents the HTML element, which we've already talked about, but element objects have child nodes of type element nodes like text nodes, comment nodes. And the reason I wanted to show you this was the nodeless object represents a list of nodes like HTML elements collection of child nodes. Elements can also have attributes, and attributes are attribute nodes. Now, one of the things you might note is used to, way back when, some of these browsers didn't recognize some elements, but today, pretty much as you can see across the board, element and nodeless both are recognized in all browsers to be manipulated. But that wasn't always the case. An example was, let's see, IE has always done a pretty good job. When Chrome first came out, it had some issues with the node list. Firefox, same deal. Safari's been okay. This one I can't remember. What's that one? Opera, that's what it is. Opera, what browser you might have used. Some people still use it. It's actually used a lot on mobile devices, I believe. Opera's still used on like on mobile Droid devices, I think by default, maybe. I might be mistaken. But anyway, this goes through a list of, and we're not going to read them all. It goes a list, but it's good for you to have bookmarked, a list of all properties and methods that, and describing each one of them. Like an example, blur, element.blur. This would remove focus from an element. We're actually going to use focus this week. Like when you come to a web page, it's nice for a user to have their cursor already blinking in a text box, right? So they want to click on it every time. Well, we're doing a shopping list, so we want it to every time this week to clear out the text box after an item's been added and refocus on that text box. So we want to keep clicking our finger in it or mouse in that text box. So we'll be using the DOM, and there is an element.focus, which is right here. Gives focus to an element. I've already talked to one earlier, element.value. So I'll get to that one. There it is. And this returns a value of an attribute. This would be for field types, like an input box would be an example. And so these are good to know, property methods and what they do, because you'll be using these a lot when it comes to DOMs. All right, go back to week 8. What we're going to do is we're going to click on this link in week 8. It's worth 20 points on the W3 Schools link. I'm going to have you add 3 more P tags, and I'll help you with it. 3 more P tags with 3 DOM tags of whatever text you want. And then you're going to add and display the 3 new tags into my function, test it by the click button you'll see, and I'll walk around and see how you're doing. So here's what you get first. We'll play with this together. Right now, you'll notice on the left, we've got an ID tag here on an ahref called myAnchor on this line right here. And the button, this try button, is actually calling a function, a JavaScript function called myFunction. And notice what it's doing. It's grabbing the ID called myAnchor, putting it in a variable X, and then displaying it in the inner HTML. Okay, so if I click try, it's going to show up myAnchor, because myAnchor is what it's grabbing here, is the element ID. myAnchor is what it's grabbing, and then it's pushing it here to the inner HTML. And inner HTML would be the ID itself, which in this case is called myAnchor. All right, so let's do this. I'm going to have you create 2 more or 3 more P tags. Create your own DOM tag, your own ID of those 3 tags. So 3 separate IDs. Put whatever text you want in there. Doesn't really matter, because we're just going to grab the ID itself. And then you're going to add and display the 3 new tags in my function after you hit the test button. So I'll give you a moment to see if you can figure it out. Again, 3 new P tags. You already have 1 in there. And it's using, this was actually using a tag in the ahref. I want you to try to figure out how to put a tag in the P tag only, not the ahref, but a P tag. So see if you can figure that out. And again, if you look at the A tag, it will help you. That's a clue. How it's done in the A tag is exactly how it can be done in the P tag. So you got 3 P tags below that. I'm just going to add I'm going to add 3 P tags, but I'm not going to add my ID yet. So see if you can figure it out. So I'm going to put in here, let's see, something about grocery. I'll go do 3 shopping items, I guess. We'll do eggs. I'm not putting the ID in mine yet. Milk. Bread. Give you a moment, see if you can figure out where to put that ID tag, and then you're going to basically you're going to have to add some stuff to that my function to pull in that HTML properly. Be a little tricky because there isn't, when you use demo, you can only use it once, so you might have to do something there. You can only use demo once, so it will override every time. So everything's there that you need. You just have to basically duplicate it 3 times. Then I'll help you out. Once we give you a couple minutes here to see if you can figure it out. All right, how's everybody doing? All right. All right, so what we got. Okay, could have done totally different than me, but let me go ahead and make my screen a little bigger so you can see how I did it. All right, so I added my 3P tags like I asked. I made one ID, list 1, list 2, list 3, egg, milk, and bread. Then I added in my function, I added in there the or below the button, I added 3 more placeholders for the P tag to put my new list. that I'm going to be grabbing. So I put 3 P tags: ID list, A list 1, A list 2, A list 3. Then in the function, I use the same X since it's already declared here at the top. I just copy and pasted these 2 lines and just change the ID that I'm grabbing and where I'm placing it at in the HTML. So I'm grabbing ID list 1, list 2, and this one should be list 3. List 3, and then displaying it. List 1 is displaying on A list 1. List 2 is displaying on A list 2 P tag. List 3 is displaying on A list 3 tag. So when I run it, you'll notice I have the link that was already there, eggs, milk, bread. Click the button to display, and click dry it, and then it grabs the tag here below. Okay. Now, if I wanted to grab the value of this P tag, right now I'm grabbing the ID of this. What do I need to put, you think, to grab the value of the P tag? Just guess. Huh? If I wanted, instead of the word ID, if I wanted the value, which would be what? Eggs, milk, and bread of P tag, what would I use instead of ID? Because right now I'm grabbing the P tag, I'm grabbing the ID and returning it. Value. So let's try that. So I'm going to try, instead of ID, I'm just going to replace ID with value. And rerun my code and hit try. Notice it said undefined. Why is that? If I go back up here to the top, notice here, I'm getting the ID by ID, but the value is not working. So let's see if I can get rid of this value altogether. Run it. Notice here it gives me some more stuff, but it's not the right thing. So again, I'm getting closer on it, or at least getting different information anyway. So what else do you think I might need for a P tag? If we go back to the HDOM, let's go there. Attribute. And again, if you don't know, we can Google it, which I'm going to do it with you right here to show you how easy it is to find if you don't know what it is. So I can keep going here. Now it's on command. Know that. Events, no. So instead of looking through this whole list, what I'm going to do, I'm going to show you exactly what I do. Is I'm going to Google it and search for, I want the DOM for the P tag value. All right, so he's giving me some, looks like some PHP here on Stack Overflow, but that's okay. Might be able to figure it out. Right now it's giving me the get element by ID. I want that. Let's do JavaScript. See if we get a better result here. All right, so JavaScript DOM HTML changes the content. This one here says change the content of the P tag. And we have another W3 schools if that one doesn't work for us. And I'm just doing what I would do if I'm working and I'm like, okay, I don't remember what the value. Well, remember how to get back that value. All right. So right here it says the easiest way to modify the content of HTML, enter HTML, is to change the content using the syntax enter HTML. We already did that. So we want to get the contents by ID. Document.get element ID. Well, I think we did that one too. Get element by ID, list 1, list 2, list 3. We did that. Let's go back. And let's go to the other link. I want p tag return value. Access paragraph tag. All right, says here, this guy says, well, I've tried document.getElement by ID, test.value. I also tried document getElement ID, first child. That didn't work. We tried both of those. And so says here, you need to use inner HTML property to access the stuff in paragraph. For example, document.html, ID.innerHTML. So same thing we're using here to write. Use it to get. So let's see if that works. So what we're doing here, we're grabbing the inner HTML of list one tag. Then we're adding it basically to the a list one here tag once we get it. Let's see if that works. There we go. That did it. So I just showed you how a programmer would do it in the field, real life. And you'll notice the site that I got it from here was bytes.com. A lot of times, though, you'll get it from the first one I gave you earlier, the results. Let's see here. Let's see if I can find a better one here. W3 Schools actually has one of the better ones. Stack Overflow, you can probably find it there too, eventually. There it is. There's one from Stack Overflow. Stack Overflow is pretty much my go-to for coding examples, getting information. So the W3 School is another good one. So here's what mine ended up with then to turn it from the ID to the actual value above and below. And this would be a good example here. The bottom, where we called the function, got the value, displayed it here. Same thing we're going to do this week when you guys get the value from your input box. But your input box does have a method that you can use besides it's not going to use inner HTML. We talked about this earlier, remember? An input box does have a tag method in it called value, remember? So in order to get, if these three up here were actually text boxes for eggs, milk, and bread, they were input boxes, I would use a dot value here. I would use a dot value instead of a dot inner HTML. That makes sense? Because the p tag doesn't have any other method to use, so it's using inner HTML, and that works. So I'll leave that up here for just a moment. Anybody have anything different as far as what you did for yours? Anything different, drastically different? And again, this is just showing how to modify. And I like doing what I did earlier too. It's good for learning. When I stripped this earlier to see what's happening, just stripping a tag and doing a get element by whatever, you can really see the DOM, what we were talking about earlier, how it's blowing up. It's actually at the root level here of an object, which is the page, HTML paragraph element. We're actually there. We know that. This is an HTML paragraph element that we're in right now. So it's telling us that much. Doesn't give us any more information, but it does tell us that much. There are also, besides inner HTML, there is a thing called outer HTML too. It'd be kind of interesting to find out what it gives us there. If I change this from inner to outer HTML, and same results. So we're getting the same on both inner and outer on that one. Okay. And sometimes you get more depending on what this doesn't have anything else in it. There's literally nothing else in there besides the text. That's all we have, or the ID. We got that. So, but that JavaScript link I gave you here, or the W3 School links, is a really good link to blow up all the different. So if we did another one, like say, I don't know, let's try one called children. See if we can get something there from this one. If I just do children, see if it actually does anything, if we get anything back. This is on the My Anchor one. HTML collection note. So let's put one on this one. Nope, no, there's no children. of that one. And that the reason I know it's not going to, there's more that would be added here if there was. So we go back and add another one here, like say class name. Let's try that one. And again, you just go through these and see what results you get, if you get any. You'll get some results. Nothing there, not any return. Let's see, contains, returns true if a node is descendant of a node, otherwise false. So let's see if that happens. Bless you. That's a good exercise too, just to go through these, the DOM and blow it up and see what happens. There you go. Function contains native code, function contains native code. We'll do one more. LANG for language. Let's try that one. So go to the DOM language of this browser. Nope, not set. No type. Let's try that one. There you go. No type 1 or 2. Which is text version. 1 was text version we found out earlier. I'll put these back the way they were. There we go. So that's manipulating the DOM. So what you need to do now, only thing you need to submit is in this week 8, just submit done, that we did this together. All right. So I do want to go over, next we're going to go over your version 2.1, which while you're getting that, while you're submitting done, I'm going to show you the finished version of 2.1. So I'm going down to the assignment examples, week 8. And here's shopping list 2.1. And I'm going to go ahead and put in here eggs, lettuce, and milk. You'll notice in this version there is no deleting or updating, but we are adding dynamically to our list from our form. We're adding an input box, a button, no default list by default this week. You're just going to add in items. Notice when I add in an item here, as soon as I add an item, it clears the text box and refocuses the cursor in that text box without me clicking on it. All right, that's another thing I'll show you to do. So let's go over the notes, and I do have this assignment example already finished for you to look at. So go over week 8 assignment like we did last week. I think it worked pretty good. I'm just going to go over the notes with you real quick. We're not going to do this in class, but I'm going to go over the notes, see if you have any questions on it. You are going to version this one. You're going to fork this one like you did the last couple weeks. So this is shopping list version 2.1. And this week we're going to be adding in some requirements to stay on track. We're going to be, should have an input box and a button to collect new shopping list. It should have a function to add a shopping list using DOM. It should have a function to display shopping list to a web page using DOM. It should clear the input box, and it should also focus on the input box after the text is cleared. These are the things we're going to be doing this week on your shopping list. So steps here of how to fork your plunker are in there. You open it up, fork it, rename it in the description to shopping list, not shopping list, it's shopping list app version 2.1. Then follow the instructions that we'll go over in a second to update your slides. And then finally add your student comments to the JS, add code to the JS, and the following slides here. So first thing you'll do is you'll change the index HTML in your plunker. Right now, the way it's set is I think the JS call, the script.js is underneath the H1 tag. You're going to move it back into the head tag since we're putting a button and input box in there. So you'll update that, update the H1 tag to shopping list version 2.1. Also, below the H1 tag, you'll add in the following code to allow the user to enter in the grocery list items. So you're going to add in an input box. Here's the ID, item, and name is item. It's input box text type. A button that submits and goes to a JavaScript called add shopping list that we already have in your code from last week, and item.value. This is coming from the name of the input box, which is item.value. And .value is the value of the input box. So if you type in eggs, eggs is going to go in here and go to the add shopping list function. Okay. Also, a hold placeholder like we did tonight in the in class. This placeholder for p tag is where all your list is going to go in when they hit the submit button or the add button every time. It's going to go in there. So to stay on track, first thing we've done is we've added the input box and button to the collect the new shopping list. Now we're going to, first thing you're going to do is after you've done that on the JS is there's a whole bunch of code in there you're not going to need. And I actually put it on this slide, what you need to comment out that you're not going to need. Because remember last week you did multiple calls to multiple functions and had a big string of stuff that came out. Well, a lot of the stuff you're not going to need, like you're not going to need the display shopping list. You're not going, because that one was just displaying a hard-coded item, whatever it was. You're not going to need the function add shopping list item because, again, that's hard-coded in. Add shopping list item, you're not going to need that. Display shopping list, not going to need that. Add shopping list, add new item 5. Change shopping list, add shopping list, change shopping list, delete shopping list. Don't need any of that this week. So comment those out and move them to the bottom of your JS page when you get to it. Then at the very top of your JS screen, remember we had items 1, 2, 3, and 4, something in there for the initialization. You're going to null them out. It's going to be an empty array. So you're just going to have the same name, shopping list, but empty array. And by the way, this is an empty array. We could also do, in place of this, we could actually put the word new space array, left and right parentheses. That would work the same way. But this is a shorter version of what I always use. But you might see examples where when you're declaring an array, the name of the array equals new array with left and right parentheses. That does work. But this is a lot shorter and it works the same. So I've tried to put in the comments this week in blue things you're adding. And I'm going to do that from now on the comments because you're getting so many comments in there. So notice I put in here version 2.1 update function. You already have a function called add shopping list already. Right now on this slide, you're really not doing anything to it yet. That's the existing function you already have called function add shopping list item. And shopping list.push item does what? You remember what this one does to an array? Yeah, it adds an item to an array, right? The next one just did what? The display shopping list. What did it do? Or what does it do on your function? Yeah, it just displays them as a console.write, I believe, or a document.write, I think, to your browser. So then after you finish that, you've completed the second requirement, which is a function to add a shopping list using DOM. The next one, though, is displaying that function list, displaying the shopping list to the DOM. So this one is using the existing display shopping list function, and a lot of blue comments on this one. You're going to add and initialize a variable, the list, with an empty string. Add an initialized variable array length with a shopping list.length. This is going to determine the length that you'll see in a second for the for loop. So array length equals shopping list.length. So if you have 3 in the list, it'll be 0, 1, 2. It'll be 2 for the array, or 3 for the length. Then you'll declare a loop, a for loop. Var I equals 0, while I is less than array length increment by 1. So I'll highlight this. This is declaring var I is 0, while I is less than array length, it's going to increment. Then you can concatenate the list to each when each array is looped, and plus add a BR tag. So in this for loop, the same one in your comment, inside the for loop, it's going to concatenate the list with the list equals the list plus shopping list. Let's say it has 2 items in there. It'd be 0, 1. Done. Notice at the end of each one, though, it's adding a BR tag. If we didn't do a BR tag, the shopping list would all show up on one line without the BR tag. Then display the list after the for loop, because if you display the list within the for loop, you're going to get the very last list item. It's going to just keep overriding them. So make sure that this is outside the for loop, where you're displaying the list in the DOM inner HTML my list that you created in your p tag on the HTML. So that fulfills that requirement of the function to display shopping list to web using DOM. Then the last 2 are pretty easy. You're going to clear the text box. So I just create a function called clear focus. You can call it something else if you want to, but I call mine clear focus. Inside that function, I cleared the input box value. I also put in here some links to Stack Overflow, which gives some even more examples of clearing text boxes. But it's as simple as the document DOM.element, which is item, get element ID, item.value equals empty quotes. That's going to clear the item value in the input box. So if I go back a few slides here, if you remember, there's the item, the ID DOM called item. So what we're doing here for the DOM, I'm manipulating it, is clearing out. We're calling that DOM item and just clearing it out here is all we're doing, right? Then to set the focus back on that same item after the text is cleared, again, I put another link to a Stack Overflow link to help you understand it more. It's a document.getElement.id item.focus, and that'll focus on that. And then finally, inside of the update shopping list, you'll need to call that clear focus function after display shopping list, call the clear focus, then I'll complete that. Now, as far as challenge, I don't have it on here, but a challenge I'd like to put in here is, and we're not going to do this actually until next week as far as grading wise, but if you wanted to put more than one input box in there, that's a challenge for you. So if you wanted to put in there three or four input boxes to make it a little faster, to maybe type in 3 items and hit add, and it'll add all 3 at the same time. Something like that might be one this week to do. Another one you might be thinking about this week, I didn't put in there as a challenge, would be images. Maybe start putting some images on that page, because this is going to be your app, the shopping list app. So nice shopping list app image. Some of you are already into Photoshop already, or you can find some good stock images to throw on there, make it look nicer. Maybe put some text at the bottom, some footer text on what the app does, things like that. So it's up to you what you want to do with that. So you can start playing with the aesthetics of the main page. Okay, that's a challenge. Also, second challenge would be adding more input boxes to your main page. And then if you want to add other pages too, like say if you want to link to a help page, you can just create a separate page called help.html and start putting instructions in for people. You know, this week all you have is how to add, but eventually you're going to have how to change, how to update, how to delete an item. And then finally, the last step will be how to share your whole list to whomever via text message. And I'm also going to put in there the requirement for email. I thought would be cool, because maybe not everybody would want their list text message to them, possibly. Maybe some email might be a cool feature to put in there. And so, but that's going to be version 4 down the road a little bit. So questions on the homework this week? Once you're finished with version 2.1, and made all your cool updates to it and make it your own, I guess, this week, because you'll have plenty of time to do that. Go ahead and share it as always in week 8. And then next Monday, do not show up because I won't be here. It is spring break. And is anybody doing anything besides vegetating at home? Like me, for at least an hour maybe. Anybody planning on doing anything for spring break? Yeah.
Mall of America.
Mall of America. Yeah, I have a friend of mine's going there with his kids actually. They've never been. So have you been before?
Yeah, I've been there like 3 or 4 times.
Okay.
But people have gone with
Is
that.
there something that now it's been like when our kids are Mark's 30, he went when he was 16, so it's changed a lot. So is there anything that I could tell my friend that would be cool for him to go to? That was a huge place.
It just all got renovated.
What is it?
It just got, the whole front part of it just got
Renovated?
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, there's like a cool shops or something or games for kids
Well,
to do.
it's 4 stories.
Yeah, it's like I know there's something
There's
literally
water park,
you can spend 2 or 3 days there and still not go to the store at all.
Yeah, they said something if you spend 10 minutes in every store, it would take 84 hours.
Yeah, yeah. So is there any one cool place you guys really like going to, or what is it?
The Lego
Yeah.
store.
Oh yeah, the Lego store. I got some of those
Lego
Legos.
store. I guess
Lego store?
the theme park sort of used to be more.
What's in
so
that? What's in that now?
It's Nickelodeon.
Oh,
So,
Nickelodeon.
like,
They
back
had,
in the day when it was Camp Snoopy, it was 10 times better.
Oh, okay,
they had like a log ride and something else. They have a lot of stuff there. It's been a while since.
okay. Well, he's going to, so enjoy yourself. Enjoy everybody else, at least take a few days off of school, breaking off of school. Hopefully, this is you're getting something out of this versioning, which I know for some it's like, okay, this is little bites each week, but I'm hoping at the end of the semester it'll be such to where you will totally get everything that app does from beginning to end. It'll be your app. That's why I'm trying to make it this week, starting to personalize a little bit. Because the end functionality, everybody's gonna have the main functionality the same, but all the other stuff you can have make it your own. Make sense? And so, questions about your homework? Okay, well, we are done, believe it or not, and enjoy your spring break. Try to not think about the school for a couple days and
Well, I gotta come back tomorrow.
do what now?
I gotta come back tomorrow.
Yeah, well, I know that, but if some of you, this is it. That's all I have you for next week for this semester. So, but yeah, no, I'll definitely come tomorrow. I'll see you then.
Definitely be here.
Yeah. And a reminder, we do have